Okay, we should be rolling now. Should be rolling. Okay, there we go. We are live. Hello, hello, hello. I'm sorry about being a bit late. Yeah, we'll get to it real quick. I just want to mention something. So I just made a Discord. I just made a Discord here. Yeah, I made a Discord here for you guys, and the reason why I made this Discord, just so you know, is just so yeah. See, invite. So I made this Discord for you guys. You can accept the invite and all that. And the reason why I made this Discord for you is that the main purpose of it is for movie suggestions. So any sort of movies you want streamed on my channel, you can give me a suggestion of it on Discord, and I'll stream it later on and starting next week. I thought that'd be a good idea for you guys. The only thing I would say is with the suggestions is like, find any movie that's on YouTube. Not from YouTube movies, but any other like channel. Any movie, it can be anything movie wise, and you know, I'll stream it and put it as a suggestion link in the Discord there with movie suggestion, little tag there. Yeah. Anyways, let's get to the movie. Sorry about taking a second to say that, but yeah. Sorry.
During the last few years, we've ventured into a lot of different fields, and we've had the opportunity to meet and work with a lot of wonderful people. I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Now, Mickey's story begins with a man and a dream. The man's name, Walter Elias Disney. The year? A speeding passenger train is bound for Los Angeles. Young Disney has just lost the copyright to his only money-making star. In a last-ditch effort to save his studio, he begins work on a new character patterned after a tame field mouse that once lived in his Kansas City art studio. Walt wants to call him Mortimer, but his wife feels that the name is just too pretentious. So he's redubbed Mickey Mouse. Somehow the handle just seems to fit. Together with his friend, Ub Iwerks, they start production on a new cartoon series.
Mickey's greatest asset was being current with the times, and what times they were. 1928 was a truly amazing year. Charles Lindbergh had recently flown from New York to Paris. When he returned, he became the world's first mass media hero. Mickey borrowed the theme for his film debut, Plane Crazy. It was a silent movie that used a live theater organist to underscore his antics. Mickey showed everyone that even little mice could fly, if they were big on imagination. Making do with the materials at hand was to be the young rodent's trademark. His creation was truly a Mickey Mouse airplane. But no tale seemed complete without a love interest. Playing backseat driver was a studio starlet named Minnie Mouse. Although she and Mickey would eventually soar to great heights together, even her abundant dramatic talents could not save this picture. And Plane Crazy bombed. About that same time, matinee idol Douglas Fairbanks made a popular movie titled The Gaucho. Mickey made his own version, The Galloping Gaucho. Being animated enabled a swashbuckling mouse to always go one better, but the picture still did not sell.
And do you know why it didn't sell? No, why? Sound. Sound, yeah, that's right. Sound had come to the motion picture business in the person of Al Jolson.
I walk a million miles for 1 miles for my
Well, after 2 failures, Walt Disney realized that without sound, Mickey had no personality. Aha, yeah. So he risked all the assets of a small studio on an orchestra to accompany Mickey and give the mouse a last chance at being discovered. The novelty of a musical mouse took the world by storm. Mickey and his boss were on the Star to Rodom. How did I do? Not very good. No. Star to Rodom, you mean road to stardom. How can you be so stupid? Well, it ain't easy, But I tell you, I got a fella helping me. Oh, man, yeah. You get it, don't you? Yeah.
When Phil Reisman was here for the RKO convention, he visited our studios, and at the time he expressed the wish that all of you could see how these pictures were made. So we have hurriedly thrown together a little film that we hope will give you some idea of the methods involved and the great amount of work involved in the production of these pictures, in the hope that it might help you in the selling of the product.
Everyone has made his own movies by drawing figures in different positions on successive pages of a pad and flipping the leaves to make the figures move. This is the fundamental principle behind the making of animated motion pictures at the Walt Disney Studios today. First step in the complex process is to create an interesting story. Walt Disney stories originate in the studio story department in outline form. Sketchmen are then called in to make rough drawings illustrating the main action. These drawings, after much trial and error, are tacked up on storyboards in sequence, approximately 200 sketches constituting a complete story outline. The story then moves into a conference room where Walt Disney comes in to look it over. Not a story goes into production without his approval. For Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Walt is spending most of his time in spirited meetings where every detail of the action is discussed, acted out, and analyzed. When Walt finally okays the story, it goes along to the unit animation director, who blocks it out in detail. He then consults the unit musical director, and in a series of feverish meetings, the musical score is written, played, and approved. Here again, the visual aspect of the picture is kept constantly in mind. As the music takes form, the director acts out the story to make sure the rhythm of the music fits every action. Meanwhile, other artists are taking the original rough story sketches and elaborating them into layouts, detailed stage settings which, except for the fact that they do not move, give an exact picture in color of what the finished production will look like. Now, armed with his musical score and his layout drawings, the director sets his animators to work, the men who are actually going to breathe life and movement into the characters. Working with pencil at illuminated drawing boards so that they can look through the paper at the previous action they have drawn, these artists sketch in every movement and facial expression of the characters. Their work is purely creative. The lovable traits that have endeared the Disney characters to audiences the world over are put into them by the animators at this time. Although their work is highly imaginative, the animating artists do not rely too strongly on imagination. To capture a tricky movement or facial expression, they act it out before a mirror, which accounts for the remarkable fidelity to nature which their preliminary animated drawings reveal. When the first rough animation is completed, the pencil drawings go to the camera department, where they are photographed in sequence. The film then goes to the laboratory, where it is developed in negative form and then returned to the animator, who studies it in his moviola. In this machine, the animator can run the pictures both backward and forward. The movements of the heroine of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs are studied with particular care, for Snow White is no caricature, but a sweet, natural young girl whose every gesture must be lifelike and graceful. Next, the rough film is run off in a studio projection room for the benefit of Walt Disney and all the men who have worked on the story from the beginning. As the action on the screen progresses, a stenographer records comments and suggestions. After 6 months in the case of shorts, 2 years in the case of the feature, all corrections and changes in the pencil drawings have been made, and the picture enters its final stage, that of color. In a comfortable building of their own, well lighted and air conditioned throughout, 120 girls take the animator's pencil drawings and trace them in ink on sheets of celluloid, following exactly every line of the originals. In the studio paint laboratory, where every color is specially made up from secret formulas, the delicate shadings for the current production are compounded. In all, some 1,500 different shades and colors have been developed. In the painting department, more girls take the celluloids in hand, turning them over and applying the colors on the back. More than 15,000 celluloids must be hand-colored in this way for a single Disney short subject. Most of the charm of the Disney Technicolor productions lies in the beauty of their scenic backgrounds. These are painted in watercolor. Artists have been working for months on such backgrounds as that of the corner of the Seven Dwarfs cottage. Now comes the final stage in the production cycle. Background drawings and colored celluloids go to the master camera to be photographed in Technicolor. After the camera operator places a celluloid sheet on top of a background, he presses a foot pedal. A clamp comes down and holds the picture securely in place while the overhead camera exposes one frame of film. The celluloid is then changed and the process repeated. It takes 2 weeks to photograph a Mickey Mouse or Silly Symphony subject. 6 months are being allowed to complete the color photography of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which has more than 200,000 separate drawings. Once the color film is ready, it passes into the hands of technicians who do the final checking and assembling. The soundtrack is examined for dialogue, and a chart records the position of the words, which must be perfectly synchronized with the lip movements of the characters. Next, Walt Disney engages a symphony orchestra to record the completed musical score, and the musicians stand by ready while the sound engineers get to work on their noise-making machines.
In Major 153, that's where the duck gets sacked. We want a loud accent on the beginning of the measure. Let's have it again.
Hey, boys, stop.
Yeah.
So, it's you, huh?
Yeah, it's me, I guess.
All alone without your dog.
Yeah, all alone.
You know, I used to have a little cat once. And when it was left all alone, it'd cry, meow. So, it's you, huh?
Yeah, it's me, I guess.
All alone without your dog.
Yeah, all alone. alone.
You know, I used to have a little cat once. And when it was left all alone, it'd cry, meow.
You're a man who's famous for many things, not the least is building a better mouse. And the world has been beat out the door for 35 years. I'm dating the beginning of that path, of course, from 1928 and the release of Steamboat Willie, the picture that introduced sound to the cartoon and Mickey Mouse to the world. Was it actually the first cartoon in which Mickey appeared?
Yes, in which Mickey appeared, yes. But I was making cartoons long before that. In fact, I think I've been in this business about as long as anybody living today. I started actually in the to make my first animated cartoons 1920. Of course, they're very crude things then, and I used sort of little puppet things. We didn't draw them like we do today. I used to make little cutout things, and joints were pinned, and we'd put them under the camera, and we'd maneuver them and make them do things. And
this was before you came to Hollywood, actually.
Oh, yes, this started back in Kansas City, Missouri, where I was working in made the little advertisements for theaters. It's equivalent to what you see in TV commercials today, you know?
Uh-huh.
Put your winter coal in early, you know? Get your fedora block for the winter and all those kinds of things. This was back in the days when they had the old canvas tops on cars. Get your top renewed.
That's still necessary, of course.
Yeah. And there was one little thing I did there. You had to think up little gags, little catch things, you know. So I had this spanking, shining car drive in. I had a character on the street. He hailed the driver, and he says, "Hi, old top, new car." And the guy in the car says, "No, old car, new top." Then we go into the pitch of where to get them renewed and all that stuff.
Well, I was dating Steamboat Willie simply because it was, Mickey's first appearance, and also the first introduction of sound to the cartoon. Now, in the case of Steamboat Willie, I suppose some picture came first and sometimes sound came first, or was it always picture first?
No, in the days of Steamboat Willie, it was picture first. And then we used to put the sound on afterwards, and in those days you couldn't do what we call dubbing today, where you could mix a lot of tracks. It wasn't yet science that you could get away with, so we used to have to do everything at one time. And we used to have to run the cartoon. We'd have the fellows with the sound effects. We had the people with the voices. We had the orchestra going, and everybody had to synchronize and hit that thing right on the button. And we had a way of doing it, though. We had a little kind of a little beat that worked up and down, and there was so many of those beats, you know, and they were all musicians working for me, so they could follow those beats. And when it came to a certain number of beats, they would go ah, or they would go bang, or they would go this, or they would pop one of these pop guns, you know, and it would always fit.
Well, it was kind of opening night for everybody.
Oh, yeah, it was a madhouse. It really was.
Well, about a year after the release of Fantasia, Robert Benchley, I remember, joined you in explaining to audiences all over the world how you go about making a cartoon. What are the principal technical advances since that time?
Well, better drawing. The first thing I did when I got a little money to experiment, I put all my artists back in school. The art schools that existed then didn't quite have enough for what we needed, so we set up our own art school.
Well, you were inventing a new art anyway.
Well, yes, but we were just going a little bit beyond what they were getting in the art school, where they work with the static figure. Now, we were dealing in motion, movement, and the flow of movement, the flow of things, you know, action, reaction, all of that. So we had to set up our own school. And out of that school had come the artists that now make up my staff here, and more than that, the artists that make up most all of the cartoon outfits in Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
Were directly or indirectly out of my school.
Well, of course, everything is people, and it was the individual and collective talents of these artists. I was only asking if there had been a technical advance in that your own work in the cartoon field seems to have acquired so much more depth and so much more
Yes, there have many technical advances, but basically the thing that gives us more depth is our the ability to draw the way it should be drawn for this medium. You get a lot of depth out of the way you shape a line, the way you draw the figures. That contributes an awful lot to the depth and to the overall effect that you see today with the cartoon.
In those early days, Walt Disney himself was the voice of Mickey Mouse. Now he's a tycoon at the center of a vast business empire. Mr. Disney, can you still make a noise like Mickey Mouse?
Well, yes, but of course I don't make many Mickey Mouse films.
Can you make that noise for us now?
Well, Mickey used to talk something like this, you know, kind of a falsetto. Of course, he's an old mouse now, and the falsetto getting a little old.
Yeah. Well, now, when you first dreamed up these characters, did you think of them as simply as comic animals, or were you concerned with them as human personalities?
Well, no, I'd say human personalities in the body of a cartoon animal. It was just a way to sort of crowd our way into with the competition, you know.
The competition of animated cartoons?
Yes, in those days I had Felix the Cat to compete with, and I can't remember all the others, but you just had to get in there, and you had to make them funnier or better, or I don't know what.
Well, the character of Donald Duck is probably even better known than that of Mickey, I'd say, isn't it? I mean, this very angry man who always seems to be getting into terrible scrapes in the form of a duck.
No, I don't know whether he's better known. Mickey is very well known around the world. But the duck came along as a result of too many taboos put onto Mickey Mouse. People didn't feel that Mickey could blow his top like the duck. In other words, he had to maintain a certain dignity. So in order to give ourselves the latitude, we created this little duck. This is terrible-tempered Mr. Duck.
As an outlet for yourself?
Yes, and it gave us the contrast that we needed in the film. Now, I used to team Mickey and the duck together at one time. And also, at one time, I had all four of these characters in one film at one time. Then I divided them up, and each one had his own film. Each one had his own show.
But what about the charges of cruelty made against you in relation to the earlier film, the Donald Duck film, the extreme
where we'd hit him on the head or something
that
like
sort of thing? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That comes from, I didn't invent that. That comes from Punch and Judy. I mean, that's been going on for centuries.
Were your films principally designed for children?
Well, no, you have to appeal to the adult, or, the adults have the money. The children don't have any money.
But so that there was nothing childish in your intent?
No, we sort of designed the films to appeal to ourselves. Yeah. And we're our own censors. Within the studio group, if we do something that isn't right, we hear from the various members of the staff it just isn't right. You can't do that. And I never test a film beyond the studio. Of course, I have enough employees there that are not actively engaged in the creative phases that they would be what I'd call a non-critical audience. They'd be closer to the public. So I test my films with my own people.
Alright, and that's the end of the stream. yeah. Like I said, want movie suggestions, join the Discord and the chat, and yeah. Anyway, see you later.